Unsolicited advice.
What you whispering for? Yo, what's unsolicited advice? Take it or leave it. I've been waiting on this one. I've been waiting on this one for a long time, and I had to take my time and think about it, research it, get my words together, because it's been affecting not only social media, culture. It's just been affecting everything, and it just seems like it won't go away anytime soon. But we can definitely talk about the effects of it and maybe how to avoid it. And what I'm talking about is accuse culture. So it's where it's a growing number of accusations going on in our culture. Now there are positives to it. You have a greater accountability when it comes to accusations. Especially with men in power, they become more aware of boundaries, consent. And especially in the workplace, ethics, things like that. The social cost of abuse and exploitive behavior is now more immediate and severe. So that's a good thing. Especially if there's wrongdoing involved. You encourage self-reflection. Take a deeper look at past behavior. Bias, emotional patterns, things like that. And what's that word? Emotional intelligence and growth. But yeah, men and women both. It's all about accountability. If you're being accused of something, how can you be accountable, and how can you move forward after that? That's the biggest thing. Allowing people to move forward after that. If certain things, of course, you can't move away from. Certain things you can't come back from. But we have to allow people to move forward and become better people. And that's what this is more about. Wrong is wrong, but in certain situations, we have to allow people to grow from it and mature, and and be better people from it. And also, dang, I forgot. Okay, so also there's a cultural shift too towards consent. So where they try to use words like healthy masculinity, which is weird. You're either masculine or you're not. So just say sensitive. So like empathy, vulnerability, accountability. So the younger generation of boys and girls, they could grow up in a culture with stronger norms about respect. Now, I am a big proponent of that. We have to teach younger people about consent and respect, because a lot of that stuff happens in college too as well, where a lot of things go on and people's lives are ruined because they haven't learned about consent and respect. So, we got to get back to that as well. But these accusations have been getting wild lately. So we're going to talk about the negative. So the negative and complicated effects of, accusing people. You have like a fear-based social reactions or social interactions, maybe. Some people may become some people will become overly cautious or withdrawn from socializing or professional settings, fearing being, misinterpreted or accused. So once you had that label put on you, whether you did it or not, now you're just withdrawn, because it's like, or when people see somebody be accused, it's like, oh, I ain't doing this no more, I ain't doing that. So it's like we're getting more and more drawn from socializing with others. And that can lead to, chilling effects on mentoring, dating, or workplace collaborations too. It's a lot of stuff where people are like, no, I'm good. I don't want to be accused of nothing. And you also have mistrust and polarizing certain genders. So, let's take men. Men will start being resentful and defensive, leading to hostility or engagement with toxic male spaces, like what they call red pills or incel communities. I think that's what they call them, red pills or whatever. But yeah. So I'm just say, you know what, fine. If I'm gonna keep being accused, I'm gonna go over here where I'm appreciated or whatever. But it still is negative and a negative effect. Then you have what they call, and I had to look this up because there's words for everything, false allegation anxiety. So even though false accusations are statistically rare, the fear of them can sway the impact of mental health and behavior, as well as impact social people's reactions to it. So whether you did it or not, doesn't matter. You're going to be labeled, and that's more dangerous than you actually doing it. It's just the accusation. The accusation is worse than being guilty because it sticks with you. There's always going to be the air of, did they do it or didn't they do it? So a lot of that is just, I don't like their face. I bet you they did it. I ain't never liked them. I bet you they did. Things like that. So it doesn't matter. You're going to have a group of people that don't think you do that type of thing, and then you have people that do. So with that being said, let's talk about this T app, and similar platforms like it. So there's a loss of privacy now, public shaming. That's pretty much what we do. So, apps like the T app and other apps like that, it leads to ruining reputations, damaging, people's lives before, getting to know them. It's like, why get to know somebody when I could just ask other people and they can tell me you ain't shit? Oh, okay, good. I got my confirmation. I'm not going to talk to you. Especially like young men. They may grow up in this digital environment, and these private mistakes, they become public stories. They videotape everything now. Everything's video. Everything's they got their phone and their face talking and stuff. They going live. So, and they don't realize they're making a mistake, and then it becomes public. Everybody sees it. So, and a lot of young girls do it too as well. Then that leads to a shift in the power dynamic, right? So if social media gives accusers direct access to public attention, traditional gatekeepers, like police, media, and courts, they're bypassed. So what they call it's called the court of public opinion, meaning it's not about the police or the courts anymore. It's about social media. You don't even need to go to jail to have your life ruined. Social media can ruin your life based on an accusation. Everything's wrong. So it raises ethical and legal dilemmas around the truth. So if you're in a courthouse and the judge and the jury decides something, and social media doesn't like it, they become the judge, jury, and executioner in that moment. Because it's like, oh, no, we ain't letting this slide. We're not letting this slide, So it doesn't matter what the judges say anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. Social media has all of the power now. Another thing we're going to talk about is the performative good person behavior. So some people behave well primarily to avoid being called out, rather than out of real growth. So what happens is after they've been accused and all this and that, all of a sudden they start trying to do good things and be charitable and just, seem to be this good person, because they know that it's easier to do that now than just going through real growth, because to go through real growth is to pretty much be crucified first. And then technically the whole Jesus complex, where you're crucified first and then you're reincarnated. You know, you let people crucify you, you go through it, and then you reincarnate yourself and try to be a better person through growth. A lot of people don't want to do that. So to cut out the middleman, it's like, oh, now I'll just do a bunch of good things. I'll just show up and do good things and just show myself to be a good person. And that'll win me favor with the people. But that has a long-term cultural and psychological impact. So femininity and masculinity, they evolve into something less tied to dominance and control, and more aligned with empathy and mutual respect. So that you kind of, you want things to balance itself out. You still need masculinity and femininity, and you don't want to be too empathetic because you can get caught up in that. But you do want to keep the respect. It does, you know, with the accusations and accusing things, it does put a damage on relationships, whether it be romantic, professional, platonic. It shifts, you know, because now you need consent for everything. Like I could meet a girl today and go out on a date, and I have to start considering, you know what, I might need to have something where we consent to everything. We consent to having dinner together. We consent to going to the movies together. We consent to, you know, going to the bar afterwards and having a drink together. We consent to going to one another's houses together. You have to consent to pretty much everything now, so you don't get accused later. You have to have it in writing, agreed upon, and it takes the fun out of the courtship. It really does, but it is what it is. Mental health changes. You know, you have a lot of challenges, especially with men, because they start to become in fear or shame or confusion as to how they navigate this. Like, what am I supposed to do? Because I can easily get accused of a lot of different things, you know, just by going on a date or being on a certain app or whatever. You know, I think it's more damaging for men right now. Now, I'm not saying women won't have their day in the sun. It's coming. It's coming. But right now, you see a lot more men being accused of things, and it's putting fear out there. And yeah, some of it is rightfully so. Some of it is just wrong. So we just have to explore how to adapt to the shift, you know, in what we deem normal, because it's affecting dating culture, friendships, and your mental health. So we have to figure out what's the best path going forward, because it's getting bad. You know, the accusations, the culture, you know, the world we live in now, it's just too easy for somebody to, especially if you have money. It's too easy for somebody to come up, accuse you, and take all your money, if not half of it. But you know, it was just something that was on my mind, something I wanted to talk about. Y'all let me know what y'all think. But my advice is, I don't know, like, stay home, play video games, or I don't know, find a hobby. It's just my unsolicited advice. Take it or leave it.